G'day everyone, welcome back to the channel. Turbo Tristan here. In today's video, we are starting the budget sleeper B Series Turbo build. Now this car belongs to a friend of mine. His name is Nauki. He's got this bit neglected on the outside, but the interior is really nice. DC2, it's a VTIR, which means it does come with a B18c. Now, I've already had this car up on the hoist, pressure washed, everything, degreased, everything. Now, we've just done a first drive in the car because there was a few issues that some of the boys mentioned to me and Naki mentioned to me about this car. Stick around, I'll show you what those are and we'll get to work diving into the Turbo Sleeper B Series build. All right, everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're getting back to our roots. We're doing a full build series on a Honda. This one is a first time B18. We haven't had one on the channel before. We're gonna do a full build up on this engine and this car. We're gonna turbocharge it. We've got a lot of high-end brand names, a lot of awesome parts we've got to put onto this car. But the number one thing is, and which you'll see in just a moment, it's a little bit smoky. It's been a little bit neglected. It's got 230,000 kilometers on it. And just like most B Series, we suspect that the valve stem seals are gone. There's a whole bunch of gaskets which do wear over time, which need replacing. We're gonna do a compression test. First, check out the driving video. You'll see what I'm talking about. There's a couple of little issues I wanna mention, and then we'll dive into compression test, draining all the fluids, draining all the water, and start to rip out the heart of this beast. Did you guys just see that? The rev limiter was at about 7,000 when the tacho says the red line should be around about 8,000. I don't know if that's normal for these VTIR Integras, but to me it doesn't seem normal. 7,000 rev limiter on a car that's meant to rev to 8 and have VTEC all the way till red line. Didn't seem right. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below because I can't figure that one out. Second gear. It's definitely just under 7 for the red line. So stage one of diagnosing the health of the engine, which is very important before you do any kind of boosting, or even if you're just getting the car tuned NA, you want to make sure the engine is healthy first. My school of thought, and I believe I'm right, but again, I could be wrong, is you take out all the plugs, you disconnect all the injectors, and then you crank the car 3 to 4 times so that it gets the right pressure and the car's rotated. It's 4-stroke, up, down, in, out, all the way around, and then you get the right compression reading. You do that exactly the same on all cylinders, so it's an even test. It's really simple. All you do is go down to your local BURSON store, grab yourself one of these compression testing sets. Comes with everything you see just here, and it's a matter of pulling out the plugs, checking the thread, matching it up with the correct one, which I've already done, attaching that to your gauge, making sure the gauge is set at 0 by pushing the button on the side, and then going and cranking the engine. Now, we've pulled out all the spark plugs. They're in order. This is number 1. Nice and dry, pretty clean, fairly new. Number 2, also not horrible. Then we get to number 3, and there's all kinds of cruddy stuff all around there. So we'll see if the crusty spark plug plays any part in the results of the compression test. Number 4 was also very gummy and gross. You can see there heaps of oil and gunk on there. So the valve stem seals, I believe, before doing any testing, are definitely gone. It's very common on B18s, B16s, and also all of the gaskets in the rocker cover tend to leak oil down into there, which is why they're a bit dirty on the top. But without further ado, let's get this injectors unhooked and do this compression test. So we've just done the compression test, as you would have just seen by that little clip. Cylinder number 1 was just under 225 PSI. Cylinder number 2 was around about 220 PSI. Cylinder number 3 was at 200 PSI. And cylinder number 4 was at 220 PSI as well. 5 PSI variant across 4 cylinders is pretty good. I think that is perfectly safe to shove some boost into it. So it's just a matter of fixing those gaskets and seals and doing the valve stem seals. Next thing to do in this build is start to unplug everything, unbolt everything. So here we have the bracket which the power steering mounts to on the side of the engine. It goes right there. What I've actually had to do, and this was advised by Elusive Racing, was just cut this piece away, making it like this so that we can put that back on here like so and give the ram horn manifold some space to clear between here and here, because it does snug up really tight against the block. So this may require some trimming. Yes, it does still, so I still need to trim that back more, but that goes like so, and we need a very low profile bolt to go in there. So I'll trim this back a little bit more. I was trying to leave the casting mark on, the P72, just so it looks nice when we paint it all and put it back on. But I'll grind that away a little bit more, just so we've got some extra clearance, and then we've got a bolt for there. Alrighty, well, the cat's out of the bag. We are using an Elusive Racing ram horn manifold. Now, this is an attempt to keep the AC, or the aircon, connected to the car. Firstly, we've had to remove the fan that goes here for the AC, which may result in eventually probably even having to go for a half-size Civic style radiator. Hopefully we have enough room. Hopefully there's enough clearance with the turbo and everything in there, but we'll soon see. We've got the external wastegate to fit and the screamer pipe to fit and a downpipe to make, which is going to be very, very tight. But we can do it. It's just going to require a lot of fabrication, a lot of mucking around, but it will fit in there. So thanks again to Elusive Racing. These guys, look them up online. They've got all of these in stock on the shelf ready to go, but this is going to require a lot of fabrication, many man hours and days of fabricating exhaust pipes so that everything clears and flows well and looks nice all in one. So we will see how we go. If we can get a half-size radiator, that may be the go. Something a bit thicker on this side, 3-core, something like that. Alloy thicker with a slimline thermo fan, all that sort of stuff is going to definitely help us out. So we'll see what we can do. But just before I remove the engine, remove all the accessories, I just wanted to do a little test fit to make sure things are fitting up how they should, because we're not going to know when it's on the engine stand how much room and how much clearance we have. So I might take some measurements, take some photos of those measurements before I remove the engine. That way I'll have something to reference. For me, through the magic of television, it's the next day. For you, it's only a couple of seconds, but I'm ready to pull the engine out of this bad boy. The reason why we're doing that is because I've got to do a clutch, valve, stem seals, rear main seals, timing belt, all that. You can do all of this on the ground, in your garage, on the floor, because I've done it in my D series, gearbox out, clutch out, all the timing belt, rebuilt an engine in my carport, all that sort of stuff. But I have a hoist and I have this awesome table that I made. Really simple, undo everything, pull everything out, and then it's a matter of just undoing the engine mounts here and here and letting it sit on the table, lift the hoist up and pull the engine out. Then I can get a better look at everything that's going on and start to have a plan of attack. I'll pull the gearbox off and stick the engine on my spare engine stand that's over there and get to work pulling the gearbox off and flywheel, send that off to get machined, all that sort of stuff. I'll show you the whole thing once it's on the stand. And just like that, we've got the B series out of the Integra. Plenty of room for activities now. We are going to clean up all of this with the pressure washer, degrease everywhere that we couldn't get to before. Just give this a general tidy up, probably remove things like this, change all the fuel lines, all that sort of stuff. Take out the mounts, clean those up, repaint them. We'll move this AC line a little bit out of the way. There's plenty of slack there, so we might just move that closer to the frame rail, tuck it under the radiator. But here she is. Here is the B18c2. As said right there. We do have a couple of issues which I want to look at, which will be cleaning up these pieces here. I'm going to sandblast all of these outlets. I'm going to sandblast and clean all of the intake. And there's one thing I wasn't prepared for, but it shouldn't be too much of an issue, is this butterfly. This will be a economy torque thing. It'll actually stop as much air getting in there when it's at low RPM. We'll probably do a bit of research, take this out and make sure that it's open all the time. Get all new gaskets for all of that. Give everything a total clean. Replace all of these hoses under here because they are probably going to want to split and crack with any more heat under the hood. And yeah, just give everything a general clean, pull the gearbox off, send the flywheel away to be machined, and start ripping this thing down so we can do valve stem seals, retighten everything, all new gaskets, and go through the whole car. We need to replace these mounts, the torque mounts. We're going to need them with all the increased torque we're going to have. This one is basically ready to rip out. Oh, there it is, it did rip out, so we need a new one of those. So I'll pull all of this off. All of these pieces will get cleaned up in the bead blaster and then repainted. We're going to clean the engine down, probably maybe even paint that. Bead blast the rocker cover, weld some fittings in here for the oil catch can, and also repaint this in a nice finish as well. But that is episode 1 of the Turbo Honda build. You've seen the manifold we're going to use. You've seen me pull the engine. We've had a look at the smoky situation. We know what we got to do and why. And the next step is cleaning, refreshing, refurbishing, and then getting ready to accept all the boost goodies we've got. We've got new injectors, new fuel pump. We've got oil catch can. We've got intercooler pipes, turbo manifold, turbo, wastegate. We've got to do a new radiator, and we need to build a custom 3-inch exhaust. Is going to be a ton of pie cuts, I can imagine, to get the turbo to clear the AC. If we can, snake underneath there. We've got to pull the sump off, tap the sump, reseal that up, put a AN fitting on there. I probably want to take these off and get some AN fittings welded onto these for the water cooling for the turbo. We'll just pick up here and here, in and out. That should be fine. As you've seen on multiple times before, we've got to put a fitting in the back of the block down here for the oil feed, and that is the oil pressure sensor switch there, so we're going to use that. It's all pretty straightforward. Just like turboing a D series or a K series, it's the same recipe, but I'm going to bring you guys along for the journey. Comment below what you think we should do and how much power you think she's going to make. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, spool up, bring the boost, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers. Heaps of unboxing goodies to come.